Everyone in that room already knew that I belonged. However, I was the last one to find out. And this is episode 7 of the Toxic 10. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about imposter syndrome. Yeah, because I remember getting a phone call from one of my agencies about a booking. They couldn't tell me who I was going to be interpreting for. All they said was, "We've selected you. It is a high profile assignment and you need to bring your passport to this to the assignment. You need to the location because there'll be security checks and they're going to check your stuff. They're going to check your bag and blah blah blah." I'm like, okay, so who? And I'm there like trying to figure, so who then? Well, what's all this about? Like high profile, okay, what? Who then? They didn't. They just would not say. That's all the information they gave. It's like it is for no. It's for this, and this is what you need to do, and this is what's going to happen. That's it. So, and then they're telling me this, right? So instead of me going, "Oh wow, thank you," no. My first thought was, "Oh, why me? Why are you asking me? Like who's this? What's this? Like, why am I bringing my passport to this thing to check who I am? Like, what the heck?" This is what was going on in my mind. Started racing, like, okay, who could this be? What are they wanting? Why wouldn't they tell me who I'm going to be interpreting for? Who's going to be there? Or this person's going to be there, this person's going to be this person, but we can't tell you who the main guest is. I'm like, wow. And so this is the thing. I was then thinking, if you're not telling, are you sure? What if I'm not the right person to interpret this? Like, what are you guys? My brain at that time was just full of questions to these people, and in my mind before, like they're saying, "Oh yeah, like we've decided that we're gonna like you get to do this." I'm like, "Are you sure you didn't make a mistake?" Like I was actually questioning whether I should even take the booking, like because I don't know who I'm gonna be interpreting for. Um, and I kept asking them, and they don't want to say. They want to give more information. All they said is they couldn't give me anything else. This is all they know, and this is what they can. I just be rest assured that it's just what they said the job is, but they can't tell me who for. We've just been chosen because we know your work. Well, blah blah blah. We want you to do this assignment. After back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, I eventually said yes. Okay, I eventually said yes, and I got to find out who my colleague was for this booking, and in that, they too were like, okay, what's this person? We went digging. Like, who's this mystery person that's going to be in this job, in this booking that we're about to do? Since the agency couldn't tell us or didn't want to tell us, well, I don't know, or they told them not to tell. Who knows? So we started doing our own research. We started like trying to figure out, okay, hospital booking, opening, royal visit. Okay, who's this person? We're then trying to piece everything together to figure out who are we going to now be interpreting for. It's like we're trying to solve a puzzle here, like trying to figure out stuff. And like, what's this missing bit? Like, what's that? And then we clicked. We found out it was going to be the late Her Majesty, the Queen, Elizabeth II, right? The moment I realized, my imagination just went, oh my goodness, into overdrive. It went into, oh my, that means it's going to be cameras there, the newspaper, the security, there's going to be all this personnel, there's going to be this there. Oh, what about if I make a mistake? What about if I mess up? What about if everyone there realized that they've picked the wrong person to represent, to do this interpreting segment? Oh my gosh. By the time I arrived at the event, I had built this enormous event like in my own mind, in my own head, like how the day was going to run. Like I had made it bigger than it actually happened, the actual day was. And I was just like, made all this stuff. And then the assignment started. Done all through the thing. Like before you even get to the location, you can already hear the people, the voices, like trying to get through. As like, yeah, the security stopping. And like, who are you? Like, okay, here's my pass. Like, check in. Okay, fine. Go check your bag. Okay, you can go in now. Like, oh my goodness. Even that build up to get into the place was even so activating. Like, how I hope I can. You can see how this imposter thing was showing up for me, because it just wasn't another interpreting assignment. To me, it was like the person was different. Yes, there were cameras there. It was just any other assignment, but it was just because there was cameras now, and the reporters there, right? And and yes, my head actually ended up in one of the national papers afterwards. Like, yeah, it was so funny. But the interpreting side of it, the interpreting was still interpreting. It was still the same thing. My hand still moved doing what was being said. The same way that I've always done. The skill that I had built over the years were the exact same skill that I had walked in with. Nothing about the actual work had changed, right? Because looking back, I realized something. The bigger or the biggest challenge that day for me wasn't the queen, or even it wasn't even the security or how it went, and it wasn't even the cameras that was like there on blast, and also everybody with their smartphone trying to like film up the thing, and it wasn't even all that. It was the story that I had created before I even walked through the door. I had made up this story, like this entire story, out of fear. And this was built in days between the phone call and the actual assignment. I had made this thing up when all I had was my own imagination and just filling in the gaps of what could happen or what could be or how the whole scenario would have been. I just filled up this thing in my own way. And here's what I want you to notice. You see, the agency, they trusted me. That's why they called, right? My colleague I was going to be interpreting with trusted me. We could do this together. That is why we work, because we worked it out, right? We figured out how we're going to like support each other, how we're going to like make this thing work. And with all that, my colleague never once doubted that I couldn't do this job that we were assigned to do. The client that requested me, the organizers of the day, they never doubted. They trusted that I was able to do my bit in what was asked of. And that's why my name was on that booking. Out of all the interpreters they would have called, they could have chosen. Everyone else had already decided in that scenario that I belonged there. I was the only one in that entire situation that was still trying to convince myself that I did. Right? Everyone else was like, cool, yeah, fine, checked, check, everything's cool. Let's go. Here you're gonna be. This is what we're doing today. All the build up, everything was fine. And I think that's what imposter syndrome really feels like for me. It's not pretending to be someone that I wasn't. I wasn't faking anything. My skills were real. My experience was real. It was something quieter than pretending. I was believing that everyone else hadn't seen something in me that I couldn't yet see. I mean, they all saw it. I just couldn't see it yet. To me, I felt like fraud. The fraud feeling isn't about lying, you see. It's about being the one person who hasn't caught up with what everyone else already knows. I felt like, oh my goodness, like, are you for real? Like, do you want, like, deal? That was going on. And I want you to think of a moment when someone chose you, be it a booking, a role, or an invitation, or something where someone looked at you or looked at the option and picked you specifically. And instead of accepting it as evidence, you think about what you did with it instead. Do you wonder why picking me, or do you then question if maybe they've made a mistake, or did you spend more of your energy doubting their choice, than actually preparing for the room, for the opportunity, for the role, for the invitation? See, the person who chose you had information you didn't have. Yeah. They had seen your work. They have seen like your capability. They have seen how you show up. And they've made a decision based on evidence, not hope. But you weren't the mistake. You were the evidence. Because here's what I have come to understand. We treat our own self-belief as if it is the only reliable source of truth for us. That someone else's or other people they can't see things about us more clearly than we can see for ourselves. Right? And it's not because they know better than we know for ourselves. It's because they are not they're not standing inside the fear that we have created. They're just looking at the work. They're looking at the booking. They're looking at the track record. They're looking at your skill. They are now drawing a reasonable conclusion from all those things, right? All those things in front of them, that you're the one. And then you're adding the doubt on top of that. So the next time you are chosen for something, and some part of you starts asking, why me? I want you to try something different in that situation. Instead of treating that question as someone that needs an answer, like asking a question that would require an answer, I want you to treat it as information. The people who chose you already had the answer. They've already answered that question. And that is why they're choosing you meant. That's it. You don't have to trying to figure out why their decision every single time. What's the word? Trying to figure out, okay, why did they make that decision? Because you are allowed to just trust the evidence they've already given you. Trust what they say about you. That's it. Because the hardest part of that day wasn't going to be the queen, you see. It was the version of the day I built in my own head. That was what was hard. Before the event I had happened. That was the hardest part. And I think that is the truth for most of us, most of the time. The room is rarely dangerous. It is the story we told ourselves about the room, about the opportunity, about the invitation, about the role. Everyone else has already decided. So maybe it is time to catch up to what they already know. and it is sounding familiar, go take the interpreter identity audit. It'll be in the description box below, and it is free. It takes about 10 minutes to complete, to figure out. And what it gets to show you is the patterns that are showing up for you right now. Because this is episode 7 of 10 of the Toxic 10 series. The rest of the series will be linked down below if you want to keep going to figure out. We've already done hesitation, fear of failure, procrastination, fear of success, self-loathing, and 2 others that is not coming to the top of my mind. This is 7 right now. We've got 3 more to go. All that will be linked up in the description box below. I am Nene, and we do this every single day. Remember that your voice matters, and it is your time to use it. Go catch it up. Bye for now.